It all started with a glance and a smirk. I spotted him across the rooftop lounge, leaning against the marble bar, a drink in one hand, his confidence in the other. He wore a suit like he was born in one, but it was his eyes that held the real power, sharp, teasing, and utterly unbothered by the world spinning around him. I wasn't used to being watched like that. Admired, yes. Flirted with often. But studied? Dared? That was new. I sipped my cocktail and lifted my chin, refusing to look away. That was my first mistake. Or maybe my best one. He walked over like he knew exactly how the evening would end. "You have that look," he said, voice low, warm. "The kind that makes a man want to play with fire. And you look like the kind who thinks he won't get burned," I replied, cool but breathless. I could already feel the pull. The tension between us was not casual, it crackled. Playful but intense. He grinned. "Let's find out then. I challenge you to say no to me all night." I laughed. "Bold. Too bold. You want me to resist you?" He leaned in just enough to make my skin shiver. "No, I want to see if you even can." I should have walked away, I know. But something in his tone wasn't cocky, it was curious. He didn't want to dominate me. He wanted to dance with me, tempt me, tease me. And I was so ready to be tempted. We danced, not on the floor but in conversation. Every word a dare, every smile an invitation. He asked me what I desired most. I told him I like power, but only the kind given willingly. He said he preferred honesty, but only when whispered in the dark. The heat between us built slowly, like warm rain sliding over bare skin. By midnight, we stood on the edge of the pool deck, the city lights behind us. He brushed a lock of hair from my cheek, still saying no. My breath caught. "You never asked me for anything." He stepped closer, his body radiating heat. "Then I'm asking now. Can I kiss you just once?" I tilted my head, heart racing. "Only once?" He smirked. "That's the challenge." The kiss was slow, deep, and entirely unforgiving. A promise of what was possible. A warning of what was coming. When we parted, he whispered, "You're already melting." And I was. The next morning, I could still taste him on my lips. I woke up alone in my own bed, but it didn't feel like I had returned from a one-night flirtation. It felt like I had crossed a line I didn't know existed, one between what I wanted and what I never dared to let myself crave. He hadn't asked for my number. He hadn't promised anything, but I had the feeling he didn't need to. He would show up again because men like him didn't chase. They invited, and they waited for the ones who couldn't stay away. That was me now. We met again 2 days later, this time in a quiet garden cafe. He was already there, seated in a private alcove, looking too relaxed for someone who had stolen a piece of my mind and breath. He didn't greet me with a hello. Instead, he said, "You've been thinking about me, and you've been sure I would." I shot back. He just smiled. "Were you hoping for another dare?" I leaned forward. "Only if it's worth melting for." His hand slid across the table, fingers brushing mine. "Let's play a different game. I want to learn what makes you unravel." I blinked. "You're not scared of my sharp edges?" "I want to kiss every blade," he said without hesitation, slowly. The way he said it, calm, sensual, and direct, sent a flutter through my chest and heat pooling deep inside me. He didn't worship beauty the way some men do. He adored depth, craved honesty, and he made me want to give him both. We left the cafe hand in hand, our steps synced, laughter blooming in the spaces between. His place was all shadows and velvet, low lighting, jazz in the background, a single candle flickering like it knew what was coming. I stood in the center of his living room, and he circled me like a sculptor admiring his subject. "You look like poetry I haven't read yet," he said, fingers grazing my jaw. "And you sound like danger wrapped in silk," I whispered, trembling slightly as he brushed his lips along the side of my neck. "Do you want me?" he asked, voice husky. I nodded. "Yes. Say it." "I want you," I breathed, surrendering completely, and then there was no more space. His hands were on my hips, my back against the wall, his mouth mapping my skin like he had dreamed of it for years. It wasn't rushed. It was reverent. He touched me like I was something precious, not to conquer, but to melt for again and again. That night wasn't about lust. It was a slow burning fire, an unraveling of who we thought we were, and a taste of something far more addictive than pleasure. When I lay beside him, skin warm against his, he looked at me like he'd found something rare, and he said softly, "You didn't say no, no." I murmured with a smile. "I never wanted to." the mornings after him were different. I didn't wake up with regret or confusion. I woke up glowing. His sheets smelled like cedar and skin. The sunlight that crept in through the sheer curtains brushed against my bare shoulder like his hands had only hours before. And the silence we shared wasn't awkward. It was deep, resting, intimate. He was in the kitchen, shirtless, brewing coffee. I watched him from the doorway, broad shoulders, easy stance, like he belonged in every space he entered. He didn't glance over right away, but he knew I was watching. He always knew. Morning, he said, sliding me a mug. I took it and sipped, never breaking eye contact. Do you always seduce women with challenges and caffeine? He tilted his head. Just you. And you're the only one who's said yes. To both. I smiled. I never really said yes. I just didn't resist. He stepped forward, slid his fingers through my hair, and tugged gently until I looked up at him. You've been saying yes with every part of you since the first moment we met. I bit my lip, heart thudding. You make it easy. Good. Because I'm not finished. We didn't go out that day. We didn't need to. We explored each other like we were learning a language without words. His touch spoke fluently, fingers tracing along my spine, lips finding the softest places, his voice low with praise and heat and promises he never had to make out loud. He wasn't wild or rough. He was precise, intense, focused on what made me melt and tremble and come apart slowly. He loved watching me lose control only to pull me back together with a kiss, a breath, a whispered name, and I let him. We lay in bed hours later, the sheets tangled, my legs draped over his, both of us breathless in the most beautiful silence. He stroked my thigh and murmured, "You know, I'm not like this with anyone else." I turned to face him. I know. That was the thing. I believed him. And it wasn't because he said the right things, it was because he never tried to hide. He didn't play games or wear masks. With him, everything was exposed. Raw, real. You said you wanted to learn what made me unravel. I whispered. He smiled, brushing his lips against my temple. And now I want to know what makes you stay. I looked at him, into him, and for the first time in a long time, I wasn't afraid of what I felt. I'm not going anywhere, I said. He didn't answer. He just held me closer, and I melted all over again. We didn't fall in love. We dove head first, hands tangled, eyes wide open. Every moment with him was wrapped in warmth and mischief. We had our own rhythm, slow mornings, bold glances across crowded rooms, fingertips brushing under tables, kisses stolen in elevators. He didn't just touch my skin, he studied it, mapped it, memorized every place that made me shiver and sigh, and I explored him the same way. One afternoon, we escaped the city and drove with the windows down and the music up. He said he had a surprise, and when we pulled up to a lakeside cabin surrounded by nothing but pine trees and sky, I understood. This is us now? I teased as we stepped inside, arms full of bags and wine. He grinned. Just for the weekend. No distractions, no noise, just you, just us. That night, the fire crackled and cast golden light over his bare chest, his eyes glowing with something deeper than desire, something like reverence. I straddled his lap on the plush rug, my fingers in his hair, my lips brushing his as I whispered, "What do you want right now?" He didn't answer with words. He tilted his head, kissed my shoulder, then my neck, trailing down until I could no longer hold myself upright. The floor, the fire, the way he laid me down, it all blurred into one sensation. Surrender. Not because I was weak, but because I trusted him completely. He made love to me like the world had stopped spinning, like we were the center of the universe and time didn't exist. Every movement was slow, deliberate, drawn out until I was gasping for more and still aching when it was over. But it never really was over. He kissed my stomach after, rested his head there, and whispered things I never imagined a man would say to me. "You make me feel peace," he said softly. I ran my fingers through his hair, smiling. "You make me feel everything." In the morning, we swam in the cold lake, laughing, splashing, daring each other to dive deeper. He pulled me into his arms underwater and kissed me like we were the only two people who ever existed. The water clung to our skin as we wrapped ourselves in towels and each other, bodies still damp and hearts utterly full. We didn't talk about labels or definitions. We didn't need to. What we had wasn't fragile, it was fluid. Like the water we floated in, bold like the fire that had crackled beside us, and steady like the heartbeat I could always feel when I lay against his chest, whatever this was. We didn't rush it. We just let it burn. It was a Sunday morning, sunlight dripping through the curtains like liquid gold. I lay sprawled on his bed, one sheet tangled around my hips, his head resting on my bare stomach as he traced lazy patterns on my thigh with a single finger. Neither of us spoke. We didn't need to. There was nothing to explain, no questions to ask, just the language of touch, of skin against skin, of body speaking when words were too clumsy. He lifted his head and looked at me, that same teasing glint in his eyes. "You're glowing. You made me this way," I murmured. He kissed my hip, then moved up my body slowly, reverently, like every inch deserved worship. "And I'm not done yet." He brought a jar of honey from the kitchen. Real honey. Sticky, amber, sweet. "Trust me?" he asked, holding it up. I nodded, breath already catching. He dipped his finger into it, then touched the center of my chest right over my heart. The cool stickiness made me gasp, and then his tongue followed the trail. Warm, wet, maddeningly slow. He painted me with it along my collarbone, down the curve of my breast, across my ribs. Every lick, every kiss, was electric. It wasn't just sensual, it was intimate, playful and reverent all at once. He was tasting me, savoring me, not just for pleasure but for connection. "You're sweeter than this," he whispered against my skin, his voice hoarse. I arched into him, my fingers buried in his hair, a moan slipping from my lips. "Take all of me." "I already have," he said, looking up with a smile that melted every part of me. He moved lower, slower, never in a rush. And when he entered me again, it felt like we were falling through honey, thick, golden, endless. Each movement was a soft echo of the fire we started the first night, deeper now, richer, more certain. We stayed like that for hours, resting, touching, making love again with no sense of time, no reason to stop. There was no hunger between us anymore, only fullness. Like we were pouring into each other, over and over, until we didn't know where one ended and the other began. Later, as I lay against his chest, listening to the steady beat of his heart, I whispered, "You turn everything into art." He kissed the top of my head. "That's because you're my favorite canvas." The city was quiet that night, blanketed in a soft mist that blurred the street lights and quieted the world. We were in his loft again, just the two of us, wrapped in the quiet glow of candles and something much warmer, trust. He stood behind me, wrapping a silk ribbon gently around my eyes. "Too much?" he asked, his breath grazing my neck. "Not enough," I whispered. The blindfold wasn't about control, it was about surrendering to sensation, to the thrill of not knowing where the next kiss would land. My body buzzed, every nerve awake, anticipating. And he knew it. He could read me like a poem written just for him. His fingertips trailed over my shoulders, down my arms, barely touching but setting me on fire. He kissed my neck slowly, then stepped away. I gasped at the loss of him. "Still want to play?" he asked softly. "Yes," I breathed. Silk again. This time around my wrists, not tight, just suggestive, like a promise, not a restraint. I stood still, feeling the air shift around me, the soft rustle of his clothing as he undressed me, layer by careful layer. He touched me like I was a secret he'd waited his whole life to discover. Then he lifted me and laid me on the bed, warm and soft beneath me. I heard him strip slowly, teasingly, and then he was beside me again, skin against skin, heat meeting heat. His lips brushed my ear. "I want to feel every part of you, and I want you to feel every part of me." And I did. With every kiss, every stroke, every sigh, we built something wordless, a rhythm only our bodies understood. His mouth explored me with quiet devotion, taking his time, as if we had forever. And maybe we did. The silk stayed on, but I never felt more free. When he finally joined with me, it wasn't just physical, it was emotional, spiritual, something beyond explanation. Every breath was in sync, every heartbeat echoed back. We didn't speak. We just moved together, over and over, wrapped in midnight heat and whispered moans. Time fell away. We melted into each other like silk into skin, smooth, seamless, soul deep. When he finally untied me, he kissed my eyelids, gently removed the blindfold, and looked at me with so much love I thought I might dissolve into tears. "I've never touched someone like this," he said. I smiled, cupping his face. "That's because no one else ever made you feel this safe." He pulled me into his arms, and we stayed that way, twined, tangled, whole. The world outside kept spinning, busy, loud, always rushing. But in his arms, time slowed to a gentle sway. It wasn't about intensity anymore. It was about presence, connection, breathing together under soft blankets with tangled legs and sleepy smiles. One morning, he woke me with kisses down my spine. "You know what I love most," he murmured against my bare skin. I turned over, still drowsy, fingers brushing through his messy hair. "Tell me," he hovered over me, eyes full of quiet adoration, "that you let me see every part of you, your fire, your softness, the way you melt and rebuild in the same breath." I cupped his face, pulling him down until our foreheads touched. "And you've shown me what it means to be loved, without being tamed." He smiled. "We're wild together, but in all the best ways." That day, he didn't make love to me, he worshipped me. He took his time, hours, not minutes, tracing every curve, kissing every part of me like it held a memory. His hands moved with care, with purpose. His lips wrote poetry on my thighs, my stomach, my chest. There was no hurry, no peak to reach, just the sweetness of being touched like I was home. We lay skin to skin, hearts open, souls bared. And he said something I hadn't expected but had hoped for in a quiet corner of my heart. "I want more than weekends, more than mornings like this," he said, his voice low, steady. "I want to wake up beside you every day. I want your laughter in my kitchen, your clothes in my closet, your name in every part of my world." I stared into his eyes, no fear, no hesitation, only the warm flood of a heart that had already chosen him. "Yes," I whispered. He kissed me then, softer than he ever had before. Not as a dare, not as a tease, but as a promise. And we didn't stop. That afternoon, he carried me to the shower, where steam wrapped around us like the memories we were still making. He soaped every inch of me like a ritual, lips following the path of water, slow and sacred. I returned the favor, fingers gliding across his chest, his back, every inch of the man I had come to crave and cherish. When night came, we danced in the kitchen, barefoot, still damp from the bath, wrapped in a single towel and jazz music. He fed me strawberries. I fed him soft kisses, and later, in bed, beneath the moonlight, he whispered the only words I hadn't heard yet. "I love you." I smiled, melting into his chest. "I know, because I feel it, in every touch, every look, every time you breathe next to me." He held me tighter, and that's where the story truly began, not with fire or silk or honey, but with two hearts, fully unguarded, choosing to melt into one another, again and again, without end.